Hello and welcome to Nerdarchy. For nerds, by nerds. I'm Nerdic Steve, and today I'm joined by this nerd.
Nerdarchy Ted, how are you doing this fine and lovely evening, sir?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
I'm good. I mean, I've had two scheduled games 2 days in a row, and my holiday weekend is crashed and burned. Both games a nada.
Oh,
It's
we
kind
talked about that. The one was the kids' game. What was the other one?
so this is my fan game
Oh,
yesterday, and I sent out the emails. I got nothing in return. It was like,
oh,
well, so I don't know like whether I'm gonna do like a redo or what's gonna happen. But I
oh!
have
You
the
like had all the players, and then no of them showed up.
indeed.
Huh? Maybe you did it too soon. Like you need to wait till closer to the time when you're going to game, and then get the confirmation.
Yeah,
And
it's
then like Christmas and stuff happened, and they're like, "What game?" And
yeah,
I don't know.
it's it's Boxing Day or day after Christmas, whatever
Yeah.
you're doing, and
They're
it's
all
like
drunk on eggnog, man, and they totally zoned
and
out on it. Was it supposed to
and
be?
then
It was. What is today? Today's Monday. I don't even know what day it is. So
this
it was supposed
today's
to be
Monday.
yesterday.
Yeah, it's supposed to be yesterday, 1 o'clock,
Uh,
and I got a squat. And then today I wound up talking to one of the players that his son got COVID,
he
and
did.
he's like, I gotta isolate. Sorry.
The Decepticons got your game.
I mean, I'm
Curse
supposed
you, Unicron.
and this was supposed to be another, campaign finale. So,
Yeah,
we up that game and kind of roll into 22 with, yet another new game to start. And
I guess not.
I guess now we have to wait for when the kids are, off from school next that, you know, nobody's got COVID. And then there's like,
Yeah. So Brian Smith said he enjoyed the bloopers reel. I don't
oh,
know if
awesome.
people hadn't checked it out, and when we get more people on here, I'll mention it again. But we definitely did a bloopers reel. The editor guy did a great job because we outsource our editing, and he's just been since it was the Fathom,
Fathomless.
the Fathomless video that we did. That was like it was so ridiculous.
As you can see in the video,
Ted
like
wanted me to go stick my head under the tire of my car and put it in reverse at that point. And he's like,
no,
I guess the best we can do is like put this in. We should do a bloopers reel. It's too bad we don't do that. And like mid video, we like editor guy save these. Editor guy was like, that's a great idea. And so all the major holidays we're gonna do them as Patreon exclusives over there. But yeah,
I,
that was kind of
I,
funny. I feel like
I,
I stole the show.
yeah. I mean, I have my own times that I misspeak and mispronounce a word, and next thing you know, we got something wonky, and you can always check the comments or listen to the bloopers reel on that one. But it's
Yeah.
definitely something to reflect back on.
Oh yeah,
And
we're talking about reflections.
yes, but it's something to look back on and see like, all right, this is where we're at. And I'm certain that if we looked at the raw footage from years ago versus now, there's a lot of other bloopers that have been left on the cutting room floor that I think could be really awesome. And sorry that we didn't wind
Yeah,
up.
the best part was some people. There was definitely at least one comment was like, "I thought you guys just did one take." No, we have
Which
to do like
I don't
50
know whether
takes to
that's supposed
sound
to
as
be
dumb
a
as we do.
I don't know if that's because we leave in some of the flubs, or if that's
Yeah,
because it feels like, all right, yeah, we're just so natural behind the camera, we get it right on the first try, or what their
yeah.
improv is. Uh,
No, it's like no. They assumed like no one could be this dumb. And then we released the bloopers reel of how dumb we really are, how dumb I really am. And they're like, "Oh my gosh."
I mean, how many
The
times can
government
you?
should probably send me checks or something. I don't know.
How many times can you mispronounce the same word over and over and over? It gets to the point that you either just laugh or cry, and I had
Yeah,
to laugh.
apparently a lot. If the video foot it'd be like, what you don't really know is the editor left off 3 of them.
How would you know?
How would you know? Yeah, so that was fun. We're disappointed that more people didn't watch that because it's
It was
no fun to
hilarious.
laugh at yourself by yourself. We want a lot of people to laugh at ourselves.
Well, I mean, I definitely, laughed, and I wound up walking upstairs shortly after that went live, and my wife and daughter are laughing hysterical, and they must have just put it on because it's not a super long video, but that's what they were watching.
Yeah.
And like my wife pauses it and turns to me, is like, "Are you in this video at all?" And I'm like, "Well, I just gotta wait." And literally the next thing out of my mouth is, when I drop the F bomb, and my daughter looks at me and is like, "Daddy." I'm like, "What? An adult."
Yeah. Good times, good times.
Indeed. So reflections reflect. Did you come with anything prepared to talk about? Anything that you thought would be worth mentioning with that particular topic in mind?
Well, I did actually. I think reflections and reflective surfaces are really good fodder for describing things and actually a lot of campaigns that I've started that are stream games. I think it's more specifically stream games that I've done this. I've used reflective surfaces for the players to describe their characters. Because I hate the standard like who are you? Who are you? Who are you playing? What do you do? Blah blah blah. Oh, barf. So usually, like especially at the beginning of the campaign, I'd rather just start in action, have things going on, and like for like the moon rises, there was a body of water nearby. The one character was basically wearing like an old school retro astronaut outfit. So like I used those like different things. I might have even used like the reflection in someone's eyes as opportunities for the players to be like, well, what do you see
Right.
in that reflection, right? And Megan, we had some really good reflections in one of Megan's games as well.
Yeah, I think Robin does a great job, incorporating that within the game.
Yeah, there was like a hall of mirrors, and it showed these like twisted versions, and Robin had given us an opportunity to to describe different aspects of our characters and an opportunity to explore our characters and different parts of them through these magic mirrors.
Yeah, I thought that was not only a great session, but interpreted differently by all of us. Because one of the things you saw was something that, like, it was what do you expect, or what do you foresee in the future? And your character, and it's a spoiler, but I mean, that was so long ago. I think we're a year past, so
Yeah.
I don't watch it. I don't not know that you will. But like, your character was so angry that you went and shattered that mirror. But there was something that my character saw in that mirror that he, envied or wanted, and he actually, snuck back and took a piece of the mirror and still has it with him.
Yeah. Yeah, like we all had different interpretations and used it in different ways. Like I used it to go, what would the nega version of my character be like?
Sure. Yeah.
um
And those kind of things are cool, when a reflection can be an interpretation. It does not always, it's not necessarily what you wind up seeing, but a reflection can also be another thing. How many times in movies and TV shows do characters have to fight a reflection of themselves? The mirror image or what have you. And like, that's another aspect of using the mirror, using the reflection of, okay, well, you know what? This adventuring party has pissed me off so much. Your
yeah.
ability sucks so bad. I'm using them against you, damn it.
Have you ever had that happen in a game?
I want to say that I have, but I can't recall the specific details. But I mean, we've been doing this thing for a long time. So I want to say that it's happened, but I don't remember exactly when.
I know we definitely had it happen in one of our games. Um, and we all had to fight versions of ourselves. And I don't know if it was like a mirror of opposition situation or if it was just something the DM made up. Because literally, like, this was my first DM, like my first real DM. So it was back when I was a teenager,
Okay.
But that's just it too. Like, I feel like, talking about reflections can mean a lot of different things, and not just reflections themselves, but like the reflective surfaces and the idea of a mirror world. I mean, even Steven in the last game that he ran, like, didn't we go through a mirror? Isn't that how we got to his Feywild?
I I think it might have been a mirror.
Yeah. So like
There was definitely something that had a reflective surface.
I feel like mirrors are often used, you know, in that way. And also, like, if you like, I think it's a great opportunity to run a Bizarro style world style game, where the dungeon is, the world but turned upside down or inside out, depending on how you want to look at it, right? So it creates a
Sure.
lot of opportunities, whether it's exploring things in your world in a different way, or or maybe the other way. Maybe, the characters being able to explore themselves in a different way. What if they get bizarroed and they have to, for at least for a session or an arc, play reflections of themselves that are the opposite of how they generally are.
Sure. And I mean that's a great one shot if you like your character and you want to do something different. Is drop it on your players. It's like, all right, we're gonna take a minor diversion and hey, go in another direction. You're playing your character, but you need to give it a spin. You need to take it in a different route. Change something about the alignment, change something about the background, about the backstory, and see where things go. And then don't tell the players, but that moment happens. Those things will affect the course of the game, whatever you wind up doing. So I think that could be an element of them playing through something that they think it's a one shot, but it's really affecting the course of the game against what the players are actually trying to do. I think could be a fun element to play along with the players actually be involved in their own downfall, if you will.
Well, also too, like, it would be a great way to introduce villains that aren't normally villains.
Mm,
Like, if you're a purist and want to stick to the alignment system as
sure.
is, right? But you want to put a different spin on it, and maybe you want to do it temporarily, or
Mm,
even just challenge, what the preconceived notions of the players are, and you get these dark reflections of, devils and angels in your world, where, well, it's actually the angels are the evil ones and the devils are the good ones, but they still look the way they look, right? So the
right, right,
players are going to be like, oh, these are the bad guys, these are the good guys, but it turns out maybe not.
right. So there's a lot of different things to look on. There's so many different ways to take the word reflect, reflections, and look at it. And we recorded a video. I don't know whether it's actually gone out on the channel because I'm super bad at that. But we did a video talking about some D&D Beyond homebrew spells, and there was like a deflect or a reflect spell that was kind of more powerful than counterspell. That beyond countering it, you actually bounced it back at
Yeah,
them.
yeah, that one went out. That
And
was the abjuration.
and I'm like, all right, I'm I was considering trying to do something like this with my big bad in the camp, the one home game that I'm in, or the one home game that I run, and I kind of did something similar as an ability, but I didn't do it all the time. I did it the one time, and I thought that was kind of an interesting aspect to kind of bounce a spell back at the party.
Well, there's a couple of monsters that do that. So the mechanic is there to steal. Obviously the Tarrasque has a reflective shell,
Mhm.
but also Brian Smith mentioned, that this Flouse now deserves honorable mention as well because they also have that ability,
I
or
forgot.
not, maybe not exactly, but a similar ability.
I forgot that the flail snail has that. I haven't used them anywhere near enough as I should, considering I have a couple of them.
I've only used them in the one game, and you guys
I
mostly ignored them until I used them on the NPCs.
well, you were using them in the Spelljammer game as ammunition.
The Scro ship that was had a space kraken that they were using, and the space kraken was catapulting them at you guys. So they were ammunition and would do damage that way. But then they would come out of their
They would come out of
shells,
their shell and beat the snot out of us.
and well, they were actually pretty useless against you guys because you're such high level. So you guys were like kind of laughing them off, and I'm like, they begin heading towards the crew, and they're like, oh crap.
um, you know,
And then you guys push them all off the ship into space,
realizing
and then
afterwards,
realize that each
shells-
shell's worth like $5,000.
yeah, that was a bit of a downer.
Yeah. The monster that was never a threat made them cry.
Yeah, sad.
So, did you get anything good for Christmas?
All right, so I got some handful sets of dice. I've got a very cool shirt that I wore in honor of today's game. The shirt says "Chaotic Stupid" is not an actual alignment.
Yeah.
I actually got a whole series, well, not a whole series, but I got 4 different alignment shirts that you'll wind up seeing throughout the Nerdarchy videos and what have you. But while I was unable to ever get the Excalibur that Uralu quested after in Jammer game, I've got the next best thing, which looks like Doug is in the chat. So this is a kind of heads up to you, sir. If we go back to that Spelljammer game, Uralu will now have a new quest, as I have got an even greater weapon. It is.
Well, Urulu got the Excalibur.
He did, yes, but something is going to happen in between, the end of the game and the start of the next one. Should we pick that up? That he will learn of Gratiator, an even greater weapon. But it's basically a cheese grater that's a sword, dagger, and I will never stop seeking food puns for that particular game, and because of it, I'm like, I need to have this thing. I put it on my list. It showed up. It's very nice, and because of that, I will then have that listed for another possible option for that character, because what is a hero traveling the stars without a quest to be on? Doug says, and since I'm showing some stuff off, thanks to the awesome people over Money Cook Games, Unmasked for Cypher System and Claim the Sky, these, because we've got a Cypher System game coming up on the channel in a couple of weeks, they were nice enough to send these our way to put on the shelf and for use in our game. So very much happy to check that out and see what's going on there.
Ooh. So
how about you? Anything fun find its way to you?
We don't really do a whole lot of Christmas for the adults in my house. And also I got a bunch of ink just before Christmas.
Sure.
So I was done before it started. But my kids did get me gibbets.
Oh, cool.
And they're D&D gibbets.
Now, are those magnets or those pins?
They're neither, sir. They're gibbets.
I don't know what a gibbet is.
I didn't know what a gibbet was either. I've seen them before. They go in your Crocs.
Oh.
They're bling for your Crocs, sir.
Okay, then. Well, now you've got D&D then.
I do. And I have a pair of Crocs that I wear to take the dog outside. So.
Well, now you can decorate your dog walking shoes.
I can. No one will see them but me and the dog, but whatever. I like the dog more than most people anyway. And the chickens. The chickens might see them as well.
Mm.
So it's very important to look fancy for your chicken friends.
I love Doug's comment. Gouda on you, Ted.
These two need to be stopped. Extreme prejudice.
Never! The puns must continue. You will continue to receive all of the punishment.
Croc bling sounds like a D&D disease.
Yeah, you got the croc bling.
Also, my Crocs are knockoff ones because apparently Crocs are expensive. They're like $50. I'm like, what? They got holes in them. It's like the Swiss cheese of shoes.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't have a problem with the knockoffs and what have. I personally, I don't go for Crocs, but to each their own.
Yeah, I just like something easy to slip on my feet when I'm taking the dog out.
Sure.
So I think it's worth mentioning too. We have a Kickstarter coming up. I don't know, people might be interested in that. And in there's a link in the description. I'll throw one in the chat as well. If you want to sign up and follow along to be notified when that drops, because we're going to be doing our Mageforge Kickstarter, which is a deluxe box set of 250 tarot size magic item cards. So we're pretty excited to finally get another Kickstarter out. I feel like we're a little overdue since we did the first one.
Yeah, it's definitely been a long time coming, and it has more to do with the fact of some delays and COVID and what have you with getting the last one out. But since Out of the Box was kind of our first go around, we wanted to make sure that everybody had their book before we pushed forward. But
yeah, that's definitely a thing, right?
For sure, I've been thrilled to continue working on this project. I've really enjoyed working with the two artists that I've been working with to get the artwork moving forward. I believe we might be bringing in even more once we get funding to push forward for that. But it's been an absolute blast making up some new items and getting some artwork done.
Yeah, reflecting back on our first Kickstarter, there are a lot of mistakes that were made, and this one will go much smoother than the first one. We're sure of it. We're actually going to keep things a lot simpler for that reason as well. But we're pretty happy with what we've got so far, and I think folks will be as well. I mean, what D&D nerd does not love magic items?
That's completely true. There, it's definitely something that I have a major heart for. I love magic item books, cards. I love crafting them. I mean, the number of magic items that I've created just based off of things that are happening in games that I watch, movies or shows that I watch, games that I'm in or planning to be in. I mean, I'm playing in a charity game on Mini Terrain Domain this coming Thursday, and the DM's like, "Oh, you can have a couple magic items," and I'm like, "Oh, this is the direction I'm going. How do you feel about this item?" And it's basically a slightly modified +1 weapon, but I have something extra to it. And I'm like, "Look, I'll have it just be a +1 weapon. If you don't have unless you have a problem with this, if you have a problem with this other thing." It'd just be a +1 weapon. But if not, I'd love to have this thing. It's like, oh, sure. So
I just want a +1 weapon of slaying whatever I happen to be fighting. That's it.
No. It's related to, beardomancy stuff. I'll be playing a main knight. So his weapon is called the Battle Braid. So it's basically carved to look like hair. But beyond having it be a +1 weapon, your hair is in perfect condition. And since I'm used to playing characters in Jake's game that are coated in gore, being and what have you, I'll be like, all right, you can get gore and blood all down the front of him, but his hair and mutton chops are going to be completely pristine at the end of the battle.
At all times.
Yep. So
Nothing
he's
but
like,
mutton chops. Nice.
huh?
Said
Yeah,
nothing but mutton chops.
No, I think the mutton chops is, a nice addition since it's a main night.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to go Lianin for this one. I thought, or the Lianin or God, like Tabaxi. I'm like, I'm going to go half orc. I think that'd be, a pretty impressive option to go with that. So,
Oh, you went half work?
yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say Leon, and that's what Doug just played as a Beardomancy subclass.
Yep. No, but he was a Shaggy Soul. But this is a main night fight.
Much different. Much different.
So
that's a fighter subclass.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah,
so, what level is that game?
Level's 5. So I'll be getting in, hot and fresh. Getting the extra attack and all those, low level things.
That's your normal slot, right? When you guys would normally be playing over there.
Yeah. It's going to be Thursday night 8:30 over on MTD. Dawnbringers won't be returning until the following week or the week after, depending upon scheduling.
Are there other Dawnbringers in the game?
I believe it's going to be the entire regular cast. Jeremy and Dan are unable to make it, but he's bringing in D&D Jordan Lee.
Okay.
M and V, AD will all be there.
Nice. You said that's a charity game, right?
Yep.
What charity are you guys playing for?
I don't remember.
Oh, don't!
Because I am bad.
I don't know, but it's a worthy one, damn it. And we're going to raise a lot of money for them.
Jake is always doing
and stuff.
That kind of fun stuff. And the conversation happened like a week and a half ago, and I'm like, yes, that's a good cause. I will play in that game. And then here's all the details of what you need. And I'm like, I can make that. And then as I started making the character, I got more fixed on who my person was than not so much on what is the game raising money for.
Yeah. Distractions. So I also saw you said sent Jake from what is it?
You can get it.
I always forget the names. I mix them all up.
MTD, Mini Terrain Domain.
Mini Terrain Domain.
Because he makes miniature terrain, and it's his domain.
Yeah.
That's still
it's not going to stick, but
I know. So I think at the start of COVID, reaching out to a whole bunch of friends and whatnot of hey, let's do craft exchanges. And the Beholder has been sitting on my shelf unmoved for a year and a half. Because I went right to work, and he's like, well, I'm going to make you a gelatinous cube. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to make you a beholder. And I asked him what his favorite class was, and he's like, definitely cleric. I'm like, all right, how can I make a divinely inspired beholder? So I'm like, well, divination, angels, I'm going to make this thing feathery.
Yeah. I mean, you can go with real angels from the Bible, and they're freaking terrifying.
True. I wanted to go with what could I do texturally with a real world material instead of painting, because my painting skills leave something to be desired in comparison with some of the people that I do exchanges with.
Or your painting skills are much better than mine.
Yes, but I think my kids' skills at painting are better than yours. And they leave something to be desired. But it's because you don't care about painting, and I'm certain if you did, you would spend time and you would improve and what have you. While my painting is getting better, it is still not where I would like it to be. And if I'm going to take the time to send something to somebody, I want them to actually enjoy and appreciate what I'm sending them. So I'm like, well, if I put the texture as something different, we'll do it. And I found appropriate sized feathers and carved this, nice beholder size thing and began to glue. And holy fuck, gluing feathers is a major pain in the ass. So I told Jake I will never do this again. And he's like, oh, if that's the case, sign that fucker, because no, I want something cool. I was like, done and done. And then it sat there, done for a long time. And I'm like, the number of times that somebody's bumped into that shelf, I'm afraid something's going to happen to this thing, and I'm going to
Yeah.
have to fix it. So I'm like, hey, as we're approaching the end of 2021, can I just send this to you, even if you don't have my thing finished? He's like, sure, not a problem. I'm like, great. I'm packed it up all nice. It survived the trip, halfway across the country, and voila, he loves it. I'm happy.
Did you stat it?
I did not. He will make his own.
Uh-huh.
Uh, at some point in time, I'm certain I will, as I look at the vast collection of beholder concepts that I have made.
Well, there's no point in using it now. You don't have the mini.
True, but I could go for an online game,
That's true.
and I did make sure that I took a picture of it so that even if I don't own the thing anymore, I have a record of an awesome creation that I have made, and the painful amount of work went into it.
Yeah. And what are you calling it?
Jake called it a beholder.
He healed her. Oh, he named it.
I don't remember who came up with that name initially,
Uh,
because it's kind of cleric based, and clerics are healers. Having a beholder, a beholder, a withholder, it's all fun to have different things.
I mean, that would be great as a support monster, especially if they just heal a ton. Like they don't do anything offensively; they just keep healing the enemies, and maybe they have like a resurrection or whatever the one is that just brings them back completely whole and at full. That's on like a recharge, or they can use once a day or something like that.
That
To
could
just
be
annoy your players,
that can be a major pain in the ass.
especially if it can heal at the range that a beholder typically heals at.
Sure.
Give it some immunity to magic, so it's even harder to do damage to. So the players have to like figure out the riddle of like how do we get this thing off the battlefield.
So like you could have, as opposed to like beholder's going to have a whole bunch of different eye rays. So like you could have a healing ray, you could have a resurrection ray, you could have things that don't injure but like move someone across the battlefield.
Or
So like
buff.
push you back so that you can't get to it,
Yeah.
as well as having access to magic resistance, and elemental resistance, or maybe even immunities. It could have like naturally, it could have like a spirit guardians effect going off.
I wouldn't want to give it a resurrection eye because I wouldn't want it to be able to do that every round. That would be a bit much.
Well, true, but I mean, like that
But I
that
mean,
could
you might really hate your players too. So
that could be an issue of like that particular one is a once a day, and that like you see that eye, or maybe even that stalk kind of like slumps down and lies down against the thing after it's been used. Um,
oh, you got a limp stock? Don't worry about it, buddy. It happens to the best of us from time to time. Um, yeah, that could be fun. Maybe I mean you do have the picture of it. Maybe I don't know, guys. Should we do a video about that? Should we make that in a video and maybe make it up over on D&D Beyond? You guys can let us
I mean,
know.
there's a lot of great ideas that we've just discussed here. It definitely sounds like something I would be into doing.
Yeah. Well, we like to make things sometimes.
I very much enjoy making
And
making.
you already went and made the physical thing, so
Sure.
that could be fun.
Can even get Jake's permission of him, the one that he's holding,
Yeah.
or the picture of him holding it. Bola
Oh
Behold.
no, that's awful. Conjoined twins, but well, it wouldn't work
That would
because
be,
beholders hate anything that's not them.
yeah, typically.
I mean, so it could be fun if you did it in the sense that like they had a shared hit point pool, or at least like they were connected, so like they feel each other's pain and suffering. So it'd be a lot of fun for them to actually hate each other, but also need each other to stay alive and unharmed. Because harming one kind of harms the other. You do a total like the twins from GI Joe. What are they called? I forget. They started with like Z's or X's or something.
That's a long time ago.
I know. You know who I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You punch one of them, and the other one's like, ow. Someone in the chat's got to know the names.
I mean, Doug is usually good for that kind of stuff, and he's call it out, Doug, if you remember their names.
Yeah, I feel like there might be some other old dudes in the chat too, so they might remember.
So there you go. I think that's who Doug is talking.
And Tomax, yeah, because it was the name spelled backwards.
Yep.
Yeah. See, I knew there's someone. I knew someone in the chat would get our back.
Always rely on Doug. So as we kind of end,
it was. Oh yeah, it was Doug. Brian Smith was like right above him, and I was like, they blurred together for me.
So we kind of end 2021, and we've had a number of campaigns come to an end. Not only the Tuesday night games, but our home games. Do you have any like moments that seriously stood out? Do you think you could say like what was your favorite game of 2021?
Oh man, that's hard. There's a lot of games that happened. I don't know. Like there a couple of them recently too. Honestly, like the first session of Vast Grim, me shipwrecking our ship. The very first session was kind of funny, just by a series of bad rolls. A different Grim game where Katie was actually one of the devout, but pretended to be a survivor. At the very end of the game, she injects me with worms.
I was in that game. That was definitely a lot of fun.
So yeah, and like she had the whole thing where she had the recited their prayer or whatever.
Oh yeah, she did a fabulous job with that one.
Yeah, so that was pretty good. Man, in my Monster of the Week game, when you guys decided the best way to solve the mystery and keep the fairies from getting angry at you guys was to record Davy Crockett's ghost being kicked in the nuts. And you had a multitude of layers on how you could do this.
Yes.
And first you found someone named Davy Crockett and decided to assault that person. I think you might have put a coonskin hat on him before you did it.
Yes.
For extra effect, and then you had a seance or resurrected the ghost of Davy Crockett.
We had a seance to call forth his spirit.
Yeah.
And used magic to have him punched or kicked in the groin as well.
Yes. So I mean, those kind of stand out to me.
So to me, there are so many great things. I think the entire Monster of the Week game was fabulous. Being introduced to BBTA, powered by the Apocalypse engine, was a great thing. And even though I had played Dungeon World before, it was like 2 sessions, actual campaign. So I felt like that was something that I didn't realize was like a bigger thing than it was.
Yeah. Well, Monster of the Week really isn't designed to be a campaign game, but anything can if you want it to. If you want it bad.
Well, I mean, while there was, this particular story was 1 session and this particular story was 2 sessions, it was all linked with the same characters and with an overarching theme. So like I feel if it's not designed for a campaign, you did an excellent job. Not that I would expect anything less. There are fantastic moments across all the games that I played in. I'm a part of some, I'm blessed, if you will, with some, fantastic players in all the games that I play with. So hearty thanks to all of them. I think to me, the world that Steven has kind of sown and craft with the Ashes of Ardor, yeah, I gotta say that was, just
Yeah.
fucking fantastic. Uh, it's basically made me like rethink of, okay, well, maybe not I'm not doing something wrong, but maybe I'm not doing enough right to kind of reinvent monsters and add additional lore to the stat blocks that are already there and make things make a little bit more sense. I love the direction that Steven has gone, and I'd like to kind of do, some of the same. So I'm definitely, as I'm getting ready to start, a couple new games, I might begin rethinking how certain things are done with my session zeros and my game preps, and trying to create a little bit more world in the worlds that we play in.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess the tricky thing is always like figuring out where to do your world building so that
Hmm.
it's going to have the most impact on your game. And also the ways to insert it into your world so that you're not just like going to be info dumping on your players, because don't do that to your players.
Oh, I,
But
I completely agree. And I think the way Steven did it, where it was, almost a slow reveal,
yeah,
trickle, not a waterfall of information. And like, even though, Doug's character was an Aslari, like we didn't know that, what they turned into and they became corrupted.
yeah,
You know, I don't think any DM out there is perfect. There's things that I learn from every DM that I watch and play with. I think every GM needs to, be ready to take something away and as well as leave something at the table when another GM, runs for them. And that to me is what I'm looking for. If I don't continue to grow as a GM, I'll stagnate, and that's not what I want. So,
yeah. I was really excited to get Pratima into our group too, because I love getting new players in.
no,
So
100%.
so that was really cool as well. There was something else I was thinking of and I just forgot that fast. I'm easily distracted. But oh, you know what? I was gonna say Vegas's character from the Expanse game, who who's basically he just played like a regular accountant in this like high stakes space drama where the rest of us, well, I guess your character was kind of more regular too, but I feel like you took maybe more skills that were more useful
Sure.
in that context, where his were very like kind of vanilla. Like he was ready to tackle some spreadsheets.
And you know what? James was phenomenal and wound up finding a way that, before the game was over, to have that spreadsheet abilities come into play. So
Yeah.
that was
The best part was seeing how many different ways you can introduce spreadsheets into the game.
holy crap. If only we had someone who was master at sorting spreadsheets. I'm
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, so I mean, like I said, we play with a lot of great people, though. It's almost unfair to the rest of the world.
but
That we get,
okay.
that we've got so many great players and GMs that we get to hang out and do. So it really does get harder and harder to pick like moments.
True. And I'm not trying to downplay anything else that's happened. Like honestly, every group that I belong to, I really do say that to when I game with you, and I would have to rephrase because I don't want to insult. If I'm gaming with you, it's kind of an invitation of friendship. I want to, you know, not just like, oh, let's go share a couple hours and what have you. Um, it's a lot of fun, and you get to meet people and learn a little bit about them as you kind of continue, and whether it's an online thing or whether it's an offline thing, it's there. And I kind of extended that, to my local friends of like, hey, I'm doing this thing, because we weren't gaming, in December, we just kind of invited, all the gaming groups over to come play board games and eat food and, kind of celebrate, and had a blast doing that. Uh, December, while it was a little light on the actual gaming, especially with two of my 5 games, canceled on me.
Yeah.
I also got to kind of get back out to the con scene and meet a whole bunch of awesome fans that were just kind of as excited as I was to see them. They were excited to see me, and kind of get back out there talking to people again. And while we're messed up and social distancing, it was still cool to actually get to see people and take pictures and all that.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Like that was also, I would say, that's a good point because 2020 no conventions, 2021 got to go to two, so that was a big deal. Being able to see and hang out with my friends and that from the internet that I haven't seen in quite some time. I got to hang out with Mike from Unmade Gaming, and I haven't hung out with him since VCon, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah.
Back in was that 2020 or 2019? I guess that was 2020.
2019, wasn't it?
It was 2020
Oh
in
no, yeah,
February,
2020 February.
just before the lockdown.
Yeah,
But
weeks.
oh my god, it feels so much longer ago though.
Yeah, I
Um,
actually went to V and Dan, my fellow Dawnbringers,
yeah.
at PAX a couple of times, and it was I got a picture, and me standing next to Dan. It's like he's huge.
Oh yeah, yeah. Meeting Dan for the first time is overwhelming because he's a bear of a man, and we're like, and me and Ted are just short. To top it off, um, yeah, seeing them was great. I got to see and hang out with Daryl from Splattered Inc. He's got his first Kickstarter coming up. Well, not his first D&D Kickstarter because Dabbers was the board game first.
Right.
So he's got his Kickstarter coming up. I think like the end of next month. And so we're talking, shooting the shit on shop for that stuff, and he did all the fantastic maps for us in out of the box encounters. But yeah, there was so many people that we got to hang out with, and also I mean at Gen Con we got to hang out a lot more with some people that we usually don't get to spend as much time with. We got to spend quite a bit of time with Satine and Jameson, because like not as many people were at the con, and so they usually their time is in high demand.
Sure.
Um, so that was kind of cool as well. Satine has always been a great friend to us and the channel.
Indeed.
And has always made at least some time at all the events that we run into to her at. But this time we actually got to hang out and spend more quality time because of not as many people around. So that was super cool, and yeah, so it was just good to get in a couple of actual conventions, this year. So that would definitely be a highlight.
I would agree. I'm looking forward to what 2022 is going to hold. As long as there's no further craziness. Looking forward to D&D in a castle next year. Hoping sooner rather than later I could figure out who my players are and have some offline conversations to begin directing what kind of story and whatnot that they're looking for. Looking forward to possibly some new cons and some new travel for next year.
Yeah, I had an idea of the game I wanted to run for D&D in a castle, but it was like freaking 2 years ago. Like,
Right.
do I still want to run that game? Because Eberron was still fresh at the time.
Right.
So I wanted to run House Tarkanan, or is it Tarkanan? Tenkar? I forget the name of the house of for the corrupt dragon marks.
Okay. I would normally reach to the shelf here and pull out my Eberron or the Eberron stuff, but it's kind of been moved.
Oh no, it's been banished.
So I mean, the shelf every once in a while needs to rotate and change,
Yeah.
and you know, some some new stuff finds its way on, and other stuff winds up rotating off. So it happens. There's only so much bookshelf space, and we got to show stuff off. So
Yeah, so I wanted to do like a War of the Mark style game or campaign, and then the players could have like they could have picked if if they wanted to be on the side against or for the aberrant dragon
is
marks.
it Tarkanan?
It's something like that. But also part of me is like, am I mixing it up with the house from Dune? So
Oh, I
because
wouldn't
they're
do that
similar.
because I wouldn't remember that because my knowledge of Dune is incredibly small. I've
Yeah.
not,
Oh, you didn't watch the new one?
watched. I haven't watched the new one yet. No,
The new one was pretty good, man. I would definitely recommend checking it out.
I've heard that, but my watch schedule is kind of gone another direction, and right now I've either been watching Christmas stuff,
Uh huh.
a lot of Christmas stuff with the family,
You can skip that.
or I've been watching things related to
It
life
is
on.
House Tarkanan.
Boom! I actually got something right.
Um, yeah, so that was my original idea, but
I'm
2 years ago.
sure. Right now, my brain, even though you guys have in my the group that I'm going to be running for, pushed in a direction away from the land-based games, and you want to
Yeah.
do live on a boat. I'm really stuck on building my world of Swampgate, or my city of Swampgate.
Yeah.
So one, my kids might be running. I might be running the next kids game out of there, but I might try to see whether there's an interest in running some stuff out of there in the D&D in a castle thing. Because number one, having the option of artifice and like the black powder weapons might give the players an interest who don't normally get that kind of D&D game.
Yeah.
But if nobody is interested, then that could just be that could be something that's a threat from the other side that they might have to deal with. So it's an option. I haven't settled on anything as of yet for this game or D&D in a castle.
Yeah. I mean, D&D Castle is a little tough too, in the sense that like, I mean, they're kind of like clients or customers at that point as well.
Sure,
So,
you gotta bring your A game and you gotta tailor to them. So
yeah.
I'm
So
enough in my D&D skills or my DMing skills, that if they say I want X, sure, let's make sure X happens.
at least like what we did the first time, at least like we kind of made it around the castle.
Sure.
But I don't think I would want to do that again because I already did that, right? So
Yeah,
now you got to do something different, whatever that is.
I would agree. This time we're not planning to combine games and do crazy
Anything
one.
crazy.
It's just going to
Listen,
be
there's going to be 13 tables, so hear me out. Maybe
we do a mass free for all.
mass combat. Well, my first year we did a two of the GMs, because I was a player in that game, did like a contest of champions style session
Mhm.
where each group fought each other.
Okay.
And also I was thinking about this earlier when you were talking about beholders,
hmm
because like the battlefield started off really big and mages are casting spells and magic's flying, and which really just shut down certain people in the game.
hmm
And so one of the things that would happen at the end of a round was a beholder would drop down like a disco ball and spin around and wipe out all the magic.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so you'd have to start over again.
So Parks, I guess you kind of missed on this. We did kind of talk about the party fighting a duplicate of themselves a little bit. I vaguely recall that it's happened to me, but I can't remember where.
Yeah.
Totally has had that happen at one point in time.
So I think along those lines, what would be kind of cool is if one of the players lost to their duplicate, but you don't tell, like the other players don't know, and you pull that player aside and be like, "So technically you're dead, but how would you like to play evil you?" And make them the big bad evil guy, and have them doing stuff kind of behind the scenes.
That could be interesting.
So that might be fun to do. I mean, it's the same thing you can do with like doppelgangers and stuff like that. But it's a way for the player to kind of lost and be removed from the game, but at the same time still be part of the game. And you need a certain kind of player that really wants to buy into it.
Sure.
And like the best is like you need someone that doesn't exactly feel the need to win, as well as someone who doesn't feel the need to beat it. Right? Like you'll see it a lot of times when someone gets mind control and they want to like try and pull their punches and can they work around it. I'm like, nah, man, you just when that, I love when that stuff happens to my characters because I'm gonna be like, hey, don't look at me, it's the DM. I'm gonna action surge and steal wind strike twice.
Well, I mean that's the element of like how do you respond to those kinds of things?
Yeah.
And everything from the oh well, I'm gonna try this and I'm gonna try that. I've seen the okay, well, I'm gonna use my character's go-to knockout.
Yeah.
And when in my home finale when I dominated the cleric who's like, all right, I do my step of the Fae where I go invisible. I use my Path of the Grave ability to give him vulnerability, and I cast Inflict Wound at my highest spell slot. Attack with advantage. Damn it, it's not a crit. That's 78 necrotic or whatever ridiculous number it was.
Yeah.
The warlock just sinks like a sack of potatoes.
That's how he does it.
Oh,
or like even in the one game with Anthony, he's like, you can tell he wanted to be a weenie about it, but he was like, so I'm mind controlled. Do I have to like go at them as if I really wanted to kill them and I know everything I know about them? Or do I just have to attack them? I'm like, well, what do you think it means? And ultimately the weenie in him, his inner weenie, did not win. And he went full out against who he considered the most threatening of the party, dropped them, and then action surged, and then moved on to the next most threatening of the party.
Yep. And I think it was the one he targeted.
Yeah, it was beautiful. Yeah, first.
He's like, take out the cleric first. Good idea.
No, he didn't go after you first. He went after you second.
Did he? Oh,
he took out Grundle Punch first.
Okay.
Because Grundle Punch hit the hardest.
Oh.
Ranger Assassin combo.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So Grundle took Grundle Punch out and then started laying in on you.
And I went down quick. It's like, all right, how many dice do I have left? All right, great.
Yeah. Well, the best instance of that was in D&D in a castle during our big battle. One of the players had did something early on in the game that they really shouldn't have done, but they did it anyway. They got dominated by the big bad and used them as a sleeper agent. And the best part was the night before, one of the other players was being a jerk to them in the game. And then so once they got activated as the sleeper agent, I hadn't known any of the interplayer interactions. But I wanted him to target that character because I knew he was a high level spellcaster with the maze spell. And I did not want the maze spell to get used on our big bad evil guy.
Right.
So I kind of tell you, and he was so happy because it wasn't until after the game that I found out what happened. but he was also a fighter and battle master with action surge, and just it used all the stops
Was
and
that
just kept
was that
going after that character until they dropped him.
was that our buddy from New York?
It was Scott, yeah.
Scott. I don't know why I want to keep calling him Nick, but
Because
Scott.
he looks like his name should be Mick. He's just got like the only that and like I think he's from the Bronx, but like every time I think of Brooklyn every time
Yeah,
like he
yeah.
talks, because his accent is so like thick and heavy. That's great. Yeah, so definitely we've seen that stuff come up in our games from time to time.
There's definitely a lot of things to kind of look back on and reflect. A lot of things that we're hoping for with 2022. Throw this out there with one final thing. Definitely got to check the link in the description to check out the Kickstarter that's coming up in a week from tomorrow. So
yeah, a week from tomorrow.
Check out that, and all the cool new magic items that are going to be out there, each with its own piece of art. It's going to be happening.
Yeah, and we're partnering with Nord Games on this Kickstarter to kind of rough out or smooth out any of the rough edges from the last Kickstarter. Places where we were a little deficient, we're going to be much stronger this time around, and we're going to try and make new mistakes and not repeat the old ones. So, thanks for hanging out with us, and until next time, stay nerdy.
Stay nerdy.